Rain hammered Gwangali like gunfire. Zara Mitchell was already bleeding out. She pressed her hand against the hole in her shoulder, but the blood wouldn't stop. It slipped through her fingers, hot and relentless, mixing with rainwater on the pavement beneath her knees. 3 men in police uniforms stood over her. None of them looked concerned. Detective Marcus Brandt kept his gun trained on her head. Rain streamed down his face, but his eyes were dry, empty. "Should have stayed in your own country," he said. Zara tried to speak, tried to explain. She was just a nurse. She saved lives. She didn't even own a gun. But her breath came in wet, broken pulls. Something inside her chest rattled when she inhaled. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. She fumbled for it. Blood made her grip weak. It slipped, hit the pavement, screen cracking, but it still lit up. Kang Minjay. Her fingers trembled. "Don't bother," Brandt said. "Your boyfriend can't save you." Zara's vision blurred, sound faded. Her last clear thought wasn't fear, it was certainty. Minjay is going to destroy them, and then darkness. Across the city, in a glass tower overlooking Haeundae Beach, Kang Minjay stood at his penthouse window. His phone rang. "Zara," he answered without hesitation. "I was just thinking about you. Still coming over tonight?" Silence, then breathing, wet, strained, fading. Minjay didn't blink. "Zara," a weak, choking sound, like she was drowning. Then another voice cut in. "This is Busan Metropolitan Police. There's been an incident involving—" The line went dead. Minjay lowered the phone slowly. For 3 seconds, nothing moved. Then the glass cracked in his hand. Not thrown, not slammed, crushed. Blood slid down his palm, dripping onto the floor. Sung-ho appeared in the doorway. One look at Minjay's face, and he stopped breathing. "Young Nim, find them." His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. "My woman was shot less than a minute ago, in my city." Sung-ho straightened instantly. "Bring me every officer who was within a mile of that corner. Names, addresses, who they answer to, who they protect." "Yes, sir." And Sung-ho. He adjusted his cufflinks. Calm, precise. "If someone made a mistake, they'll answer for it." Sung-ho bowed and disappeared. Minjay picked up his backup phone, then his gun. The rain outside thickened. Somewhere in Busan, men in uniforms were still standing over a woman who belonged to him. They had no idea what they had just started, but to understand why Kang Minjay was willing to turn this city inside out for her. We need to go back 6 months. Because Zara Mitchell didn't come to Busan looking for love. She came running from something worse, and the night she saved the wrong man's life, everything changed. 6 months earlier. 6 months earlier. Baltimore, Maryland. Zara Mitchell didn't become a nurse to save the world. She became one because no one saved her mother. She was 6 when she found her on the bathroom floor, needle still in her arm, lips already blue. Zara sat there holding her hand for 20 minutes before she understood. Some people don't wake up. After that, the system raised her. 12 homes, 12 years, some kind, some cruel, all temporary. She learned one rule early: nobody saves you. You save yourself. Straight A's, full scholarship, 3 jobs, no excuses. She clawed her way into Baltimore General's trauma unit. And then, Jamal Stevens, 6 years old, Spider-Man t-shirt, caught in crossfire outside a corner store. Zara worked on him for 43 minutes, chest compressions until her arms shook. Defibrillator burns on skin too small for war. Blood everywhere. The monitor flatlined anyway. When his mother screamed in the waiting room, Zara felt something inside her fracture permanently. 2 weeks later, she quit. Bought a one-way ticket to Busan because bullets didn't sound like home there. She was wrong. Haeundae Medical Center. 4 months after she arrived. Gunshot incoming. Her body moved before her mind did. Then the doors burst open, and 6 men in black suits entered with the gurney. Not paramedics, not police, predators. The man bleeding on the table was conscious and calm. "Stand down," he ordered when his guard stepped forward. They obeyed instantly. Zara stepped into the red sterile line. "Cross that line," she said in Korean, "and he dies." The guards froze. The patient smiled. Even bleeding out, he smiled. "Kang Minjay," he told her when she demanded his name. She didn't react, didn't bow, didn't flinch. She worked, precise, unemotional, efficient. "You'll live," she said. "How do you know?" "Because if you weren't going to, you'd already be dead." For the first time in years, Kang Minjay laughed. In ICU, he couldn't stop thinking about her. She hadn't recognized him, hadn't feared him, hadn't wanted anything from him. In his world, that made her rare, and rare things were dangerous. He had her background by morning, American, Baltimore, no family, no boyfriend, no social life, a ghost. He recognized that too. The next week, Hyundai Medical bloomed. White roses flooded the trauma ward, then more, then catered lunches from the most exclusive restaurant in Busan, then diamonds, returned, then a grand piano in the lobby at 7 in the morning. For Nurse Mitchell, staff whispered, patients filmed, administration panicked. Zara pretended not to care, but every time she threw a card away, she read it first. Saturday morning, she walked into the waiting room after a brutal shift. And there he was, charcoal suit, perfect posture, like he hadn't nearly died 3 days ago. "This is harassment," she said. "This is courtship," he replied. "You're disrupting hospital operations." "One dinner," he said, "and I disappear forever." She should have filed a report, should have called security, should have walked away. Instead, one dinner. His smile sharpened. 7 o'clock. "I work nights. You have tonight off." Her eyes narrowed. "You manipulated my schedule." I asked politely. He stepped closer, but not enough to corner her. "You're curious," he said quietly. That was the problem. She was. And Zara Mitchell had no idea that agreeing to that dinner would put her in the path of a war already building beneath Busan's streets, the kind of war that ends with rain and blood, and 3 men in police uniforms standing over her body. Tonight was the beginning, and neither of them knew it yet. The restaurant was empty, not quiet, empty, every table set, every candle lit, for 2 people. Zara arrived at exactly 7 p.m., not eager, not late. Control mattered. Minjay stood when she approached. No hesitation in his movement. No trace of the bullet wound. "You rented the entire place," he said. "I wanted privacy." "Or control." A pause. "Both," he admitted. That honesty caught her off guard. "Why me?" she asked once they were seated. No small talk, no flirting. "You could have anyone." He didn't answer immediately. "When you looked at me in that trauma bay," he said finally, "you saw a patient. Not a headline, not a threat, just a man bleeding." His gaze didn't waver. "No one's done that in years." She studied him. He looked composed, but his fingers betrayed him, adjusting his glass, smoothing the napkin, nervous. That unsettled her more than arrogance would have. They talked, Baltimore, foster homes, Jamal. She didn't mean to tell him about Jamal, but she did. "He was 6, she said quietly. "I worked on him for 43 minutes. Minjay didn't interrupt, didn't offer comfort. He just listened. That was worse. "And you?" she asked. "What do you really do?" "Shipping," he said smoothly. "With armed guards. Korea is complicated." She almost smiled. "Try again." He leaned back. "I'm not a good man, Zara." The candlelight caught something in his eyes. "Then why chase me?" "Because you make me want to be." That was the first dangerous thing he said. The roses escalated after that. Flowers, food, jewelry returned, a piano in a hospital lobby. He wasn't subtle. He wasn't used to being refused, but he never forced. That mattered. Then he bought the hospital. The call from administration felt like a punch. 30% raise, housing stipend, new ownership, Kang Enterprises. She didn't wait for the meeting to end. "You bought my hospital," she said when he answered. Silence. "Yes." "You bought my autonomy." "I bought a failing institution." "You bought my world." "I would sell it tomorrow if you asked." That stopped her, because men like him didn't say that lightly. "Tonight," she said. "Your place, the truth, all of it." His penthouse overlooked the ocean like he owned it. Maybe he did. "No guards?" she asked. "They're here," he said, "just not visible." Honest again. She sat. The truth. He didn't soften it. "My father controlled Busan Port, legal, illegal, everything in between. And you? I control it now. Drugs? No. People? No. Weapons? A pause. Sometimes." She held his gaze. "Have you ordered deaths?" "Yes. Not proud, not ashamed, just truth." "You should leave," he said quietly. "Probably. But you won't." "No." That scared her more than his confession. "I won't control you," he said. "No more buying things around me." "Done. I keep my job. Yes. If it gets dangerous, I walk. A beat. I can't promise that." The air shifted. There it was. The monster. "If someone threatens you," he continued softly, "I won't let you face it alone." "That's not what I asked." "I know." She stepped closer anyway, because what terrified her wasn't his violence. It was how safe she felt standing in front of it. "I'm choosing this," she said. "You're sure?" Terrified, but yes. When he kissed her, it wasn't soft. It was a promise, a warning, a claim. And she kissed him back, because for the first time since Baltimore, she felt alive. Outside, the city glittered. Inside, they crossed a line neither could uncross. 6 months later, men in police uniforms would put a bullet in her shoulder. 6 months later, Minjay would turn Busan into a battlefield. But tonight, they chose each other, and that choice would cost everyone. The next 3 months rewired Zara's life. She kept her apartment in Gwangali, kept her night shifts, kept her independence the way she'd demanded. But Minjay still found ways to exist in her days. Some mornings, she woke to him on the phone in rapid Korean, voice calm, words sharp, business that sounded like chess played with real consequences. Other nights, he showed up at 2 a.m. with coffee and sat quietly in the corner of the waiting room while she worked, watching her like he was trying to memorize what goodness looked like. And Zara hated how much that softened her, because every time he smiled at her, she forgot one important fact. Minjay wasn't safe. He was controlled. There's a difference. One night, she followed him. He'd told her not to, told her it wasn't her world, that it wasn't safe. That warning alone made her go. She stayed hidden near the entrance of a private room in a high-end restaurant, close enough to hear fragments of Korean she barely understood. 6 men sat around a table with Minjay at the head, older, wealthy, dangerous. One of them raised his voice. The room went still. Minjay didn't shout, didn't slam a fist, didn't threaten loudly. He stood, walked around the table, stopped close enough that the man's bravado died, mid-breath. "Say it again," Minjay said quietly. The man swallowed, tried to recover. Minjay didn't let him. A fast movement, a sharp, controlled reminder of power, the kind that made the entire room remember who owned the air they were breathing. "You think I've gone soft," Minjay said, voice low, "because my attention has been divided." No one spoke. No one moved. He released the man like it was nothing, straightened his jacket, sat down again, and continued the meeting, as if the last 10 seconds hadn't been a warning written in invisible ink. Zara slipped out before anyone saw her. When Minjay came home, she was waiting on the couch. "You followed me," he said. "I needed to see it," Zara replied. "The part of you keep away from me." A pause. "And?" he asked. "Are you running?" Zara's voice came out honest. "I'm terrified of you sometimes." Minjay didn't deny it. Zara took one step closer. "But I'm not running." Expression softened, just slightly. "Good," he said, "because you're mine to protect." "I'm not yours," Zara warned. His gaze held hers. "Not yet." A week later, they walked along Hyundai Beach at sunset, his guards far behind them. Zara glanced back. "Do they ever give you privacy?" Minjay's voice went distant. "Not since I was a kid." And when he spoke about his mother, about loss, Zara felt the truth underneath his power. He wasn't just a monster. He was a boy who had learned that being unprotected meant being dead. Then he asked her to move in. "No," Zara said immediately. "Why?" "Because this works only if I can leave," she said. "If I ever feel trapped, I'll start running again, and you'll lose me." Minjay was quiet. Then he nodded once. "You're right," Zara exhaled, surprised. "Sleep at my place sometimes," she added. "My space, my rules. If you can be comfortable there, it means you're serious." Minjay's mouth twitched. "Deal," he said. "But I'm upgrading your locks." "Of course you are." But Zara was smiling, and while Zara was building a life with him, someone else was building a case. Across the street from Minjay's building, Detective Chris Hayes sat in an unmarked car, watching Zara walk in and out of the lobby again and again. He wasn't supposed to feel guilty, but he did, because his partner, Detective Marcus Brandt, wasn't watching like a cop. He was watching like a man who wanted leverage. "She's up again," Hayes said into the radio. Brandt's voice crackled back, sharp with impatience. "Good. That means she's the pressure point." Hayes tightened his grip on the steering wheel. "She's a civilian," he said, "a nurse." "She's involved with Kang Minjay," Brandt replied. "That makes her useful." Hayes didn't like the tone, didn't like what useful usually meant in Brandt's world. But Hayes was young, new, enough to still believe the badge meant something, and in this department, believing too much could get you isolated fast. When Hayes requested reassignment, his captain denied it. "You're on this until we close it," Captain Morrison said. "Brandt gets results." Hayes wanted to say, "Brandt gets casualties," but he didn't, because nobody listened, and because even a decent cop could become silent under the wrong kind of pressure. 3 nights later, rain started falling just after midnight. Zara finished her shift and chose to walk home. Minjay had offered to send a car. She refused, because independence mattered, because she needed to prove she could still live without being escorted through life. She texted him anyway. Heading home, his reply came instantly. "Be safe. Text me when you're inside." She almost smiled. Then a car slowed beside her. 3 men in police uniforms stepped out. One of them was white, older, with cold eyes and an American accent that didn't belong on these streets. "Ma'am," he said, "we need to ask you a few questions." Zara's instincts woke up immediately. "Is something wrong, officer?" "That depends," the man said. "You know a Kang Minjay?" Zara kept her face calm. "I'm a nurse," she said evenly. "I know many patients." The officer stepped closer. "This isn't about patients." And in that moment, Zara understood something she hadn't wanted to admit. This wasn't a traffic stop. This was a message. She reached for her phone. One of the men grabbed her wrist. Zara pulled back. The air snapped tight, and Hayes, still in the car, felt the moment slip out of control. "Brandt, wait." A loud crack cut through the rain. Zara fell. Time froze. Hayes was out of the car instantly, panic and disbelief colliding in his chest. "What did you just do?" he shouted. Brant's face didn't change. He sounded calm, too calm. "Suspect down," he said, like he was reading a script. Hayes dropped beside Zara, hands shaking as he tried to keep her awake. Her eyes were open, wide with shock. Her voice barely worked. "Phone," she whispered. "Call." Hayes grabbed her phone from the ground. The screen was cracked, but still on. Last contact, Kang Minjay. Hayes looked up at Brant, at Torres, at the lie already forming in their eyes. Then he dialed. It rang once. Minjay answered, warm, soft, affectionate, human. "I was just thinking about you. Still coming over tonight?" The sound that came back wasn't words. It was strained breathing, and Hayes heard the exact moment the warmth on the other end died. "Zara," Minjay said, voice flattening into something dangerous. "Talk to me." Hayes forced the words out. "This is Detective Chris Hayes. She's been hurt. We're at—" The line went dead. Hayes stared at the phone, then at the rain, then at Zara, fighting to stay conscious. Behind him, he heard Torres already talking into the radio, already building the cover story, and Hayes realized something that made his stomach drop. This wasn't just a crime. This was a match being struck in a city made of gasoline. Hayes swallowed. "We're in trouble," he whispered. Brant leaned down, eyes cold. "We're cops," he said. "He's a criminal. We'll be fine." But Hayes had studied Kang Minjay's file for 6 months, and the one thing every report agreed on was simple. When you touch what's his, he doesn't call the law. He becomes something the law can't stop. Minjay didn't speak for a full 3 seconds after the call ended. His hand was bleeding. He didn't notice. Sung-ho rushed in with the core team. "Young-nim." Minjay turned. His eyes were calm, and that was worse than rage. "Names," he said. "Now, every officer on that corner." "Sir, we don't know who—" "You will." Minjay's voice stayed flat. "And while you find them, lock down every road between the hospital and this building. I want cameras watched, radios monitored, and every judge who owes us awake." Sung-ho bowed. "Yes, sir." Minjay grabbed his jacket and moved, not fast, certain, like the city had already agreed to obey. Hyundai Medical Center was in controlled chaos when he arrived. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten nurses. He just walked in with enough presence that people moved out of his path without being asked. Sung-ho leaned close. "She's in surgery." Minjay stopped at the glass overlooking the operating theater. Zara lay on the table, pale, still, machines doing the work her body was struggling to do on its own. Minjay's jaw tightened, but his face didn't break, because breaking wouldn't help her. Only action would. Sung-ho returned with the first names. Detective Marcus Brent, shooter, American 46, complaints buried, debts hidden. "Good," Minjay said quietly. "And the others?" "Luis Torres, follows orders, and Chris Hayes, he's the one who called you." Minjay's gaze stayed on Zara. "Where are they?" "Guangali Station, writing the story." Minjay's voice went softer. "Then we go read it. Guangali Police Station." 2:47 a.m. Detective Chris Hayes sat in the locker room staring at his hands. He still hadn't washed them, because if he washed them, he'd have to admit what happened. The report was already being typed, already becoming truth. Torres came in, shutting his locker. "You need to calm down," Torres said. "This is how it works." Hayes looked up. "No, this is how it rots." Torres stepped closer. "You want to keep your badge? You keep your mouth shut." Hayes swallowed. Then the lights cut out. Not flickering, not gradual, instant. The station dropped into emergency red. Someone shouted in the hallway. Footsteps, fast, organized, too organized. Torres reached for his weapon. A voice behind him said, low and steady, "Don't." Torres froze. Hayes turned. Men in black gear filled the hallway like they'd been poured into the building. Not cops, not military. Something else. Every exit covered. Every radio dead. Every officer disarmed before they understood what was happening. And then the lights came back. Normal, bright, like nothing was wrong, except the entire station was surrounded. And Kang Minjay was walking through the bullpen like the building belonged to him. He stopped in front of Brandt. Brandt tried to rise. He couldn't, not with rifles trained and hands forcing him down. Minjay didn't shout. He didn't perform. He just looked at Brandt like he was deciding whether to erase him. "You shot her," Minjay said. Brandt tried to laugh. "I don't know what you—" Minjay leaned in slightly, and his voice lowered. "The next thing you say decides what happens to your entire life." Brandt went silent. The whole room did. Minjay turned his head, eyes landing on Hayes. "You called," Minjay said. Hayes swallowed hard. I tried to stop it." Minjay studied him for a beat. Then he spoke, calm and absolute. "Then you're going to tell the truth." Minjay nodded once. "Take all three." Hands grabbed Brandt, Torres, Hayes. Torres struggled. Hayes didn't, because he knew this was bigger than his career now. This was survival. Minjay's gaze slid to Captain Morrison, standing frozen at his office door. Minjay didn't threaten him. He didn't need to. He simply said one sentence softly. "You will not interfere." Captain Morrison's face drained of color, and the phone slipped from his hand like it weighed 100 pounds. Minjay walked out. The station stayed silent, because everyone inside understood something in the marrow of their bones. Tonight, the badge didn't matter. Back at the hospital, Zara's surgery continued. Minjay didn't move from the glass, because the war could wait, for one reason only. She was still fighting, and when she opened her eyes, Busan would learn what it meant to touch what belonged to him. The warehouse sat near the port. Steel, concrete, salt air, diesel, cold, echoing, final. Brandt, Torres, and Hayes were forced inside. No theatrics, no shouting, just silence. A single bulb swung overhead. Minjay stood waiting, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, calm. That was the worst part. "I'm going to make one thing clear," he said softly. "Zara is alive. If she weren't, this would already be over." Brandt tried to straighten his spine. "You can't?" "I can," Minjay replied without raising his voice. He didn't touch the table of tools. He didn't need to. Instead, he pulled out his phone. "You hurt the one person in this city I cannot afford to lose, Mautin," he said, pacing slowly. "So I'm going to take something from you, not your life." He stopped in front of Brandt. "Everything else. One call, a school director, a quiet order, a fabricated scandal." Brandt's face drained of color. "I'm not touching a child," Minjay said calmly, "but I will make sure every parent knows what you are. Corruption spreads fast. So does shame." Brandt's hands started shaking. Minjay turned to Torres. A mortgage, 2 children, a sick father-in-law. He listed facts like he was reading a grocery receipt. Another call, property condemned, assets frozen. Torres lunged. He was forced back down. Minjay didn't even flinch. "You thought she was powerless," he said. "You thought she would bleed quietly and disappear." His eyes went black. "She doesn't disappear." Then he faced Hayes. "You're different." Hayes didn't beg. "I was there," Hayes said. "That's enough." Minjay studied him. "You're going to testify. You're going to expose the entire unit, every captain who protected him, every commissioner who looked away." "They'll kill me." "No," Minjay said quietly. "They won't, because if they touch you, I burn. Everything. Hayes nodded. It wasn't bravery, it was surrender. Minjay turned back to Brant. No knives, no broken bones. That would be mercy. He made 4 phone calls. By the time he finished, Brant's personnel file was leaking to national media. Federal prosecutors had evidence of bribery. His gambling debts were bought and weaponized. His precinct knew he'd been stealing from evidence lockup. Brant began to hyperventilate. "Kill me," he whispered. Minjay leaned down. "Death ends pain. I want you to feel it." Then he stood. "Take them." Brant and Torres were dragged away. Hayes stayed. "You'll testify," Minjay said. "Then you'll decide whether you want to serve a corrupt badge or work for me." Hayes didn't answer. He didn't need to. Minjay walked out without looking back. When Minjay returned to the hospital, dawn was breaking over Busan. He hadn't slept. He hadn't sat. He just stood beside Zara's bed and held her hand. Bandages, monitors, breathing steady, alive. His phone buzzed. Brant's file was everywhere. Federal investigation opened. Commissioner scrambling. Captain Morrison dead by his own hand. The department was collapsing. "Good," Minjay said. He felt nothing. Only relief that she was breathing. He brushed hair from her face. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I should have." Her eyes opened. "Hey," she breathed. And for the first time that night, Minjay broke. "Hey." "How bad?" "You'll have a scar." She smiled faintly. "Adds character." He almost laughed. "What did you do?" she asked. "What I had to." "Did you kill them?" "No." He squeezed her hand. "But they'll live with what they did." She studied him. "You burned the department down for me." "I burned the corrupt part." She nodded slowly. "They thought I was weak. They were wrong. Because I have you. Because you have me." Silence. Then, "Marry me." Minjay blinked. "You're drugged." "I'm serious." Her eyes were clear. "I almost died. I'm not waiting for perfect timing. Marry me." He stared at her like she'd just handed him something holy. "Yes, soon," she added, "while I'm still healing. No fairy tale, no pretending your world isn't dangerous. Just truth." He kissed her gently. 3 weeks. Deal. I love you. I know. Outside, Busan was unraveling. Inside that room, everything was still. 2 damaged people choosing each other anyway. And for once, Minjay didn't feel like a monster. He felt like a man who had something to protect. 3 weeks later, Hyundai Medical Center, Chapel. Zara adjusted her white dress in the small mirror. Simple, clean, knee-length, no drama. The scar on her shoulder showed beneath the fabric. On purpose. Jiwon zipped her up gently. 3 weeks ago you were shot. Now you're marrying the man whose world almost killed you. You're sure? I've never been more sure. He's dangerous. I know. And you love him anyway? Zara smiled softly. I love him because of who he is. He doesn't pretend the world is safe. He doesn't lie about what he's capable of. And he loves me enough to let me stay myself. Jiwon wiped her eyes. Then I'm happy, even if I'm scared. Me too. A knock. Sung-ho. Formal suit. No visible weapon. That alone felt strange. It's time. The chapel was small, almost empty. No family, no guests, just candles. Judge Kim, Sung-ho, Dr. Yeon, and Minjay. When he saw her walk down the aisle alone, something shifted in his face. Not power, not control, vulnerability. She reached him. Hi, you're beautiful. You clean up well. Judge Kim cleared his throat. Your vows. Minjay didn't hesitate. I'm not a good man. I've built things with fear. I've destroyed people. But you make me want to be better. His grip tightened slightly. I promise to protect you, to never cage you, to never own you, to never shrink you to make myself feel bigger. A beat. And anyone who tries to hurt you will learn exactly why they fear my name. Zara swallowed emotion. My turn. She inhaled slowly. I ran to Busan because I thought I wanted safety. I was wrong. I wanted someone strong enough to survive this world without pretending it isn't violent. Her eyes locked on his. I choose you, not because you're safe, but because you're worth being brave for. Judge Kim smiled. You may kiss. The kiss wasn't soft. It was certain, final. When they broke apart, Zara laughed. We actually did it. Mrs. Kang. Mitchell professionally. I wouldn't expect anything else. Sung-ho stepped forward quietly. Young-nim, there's a situation. Minjay's eyes hardened. What kind? A man from Baltimore, asking for your wife. Marcus Freeman stood when they entered. Mid-40s, street posture, expensive clothes, controlled anger. Congratulations, he said. Nice timing, 3 weeks after a shooting. Zara didn't flinch. What are you doing here? Business and closure. He looked at Minjay. You run ports. I run distribution. We could make serious money. Then he looked back at Zara. My nephew died in your trauma bay. The air changed. Zara stepped forward before Minjay could. Then let's talk. In the conference room, Zara told the truth. Not defensive, not dramatic. Clinical, precise. 43 minutes of compressions, internal bleeding, time of death. She didn't hide her tears. I think about him every day. Silence. Long. Heavy. Marcus finally spoke. I needed someone to blame. He looked at her. You cared. She nodded once. He extended his hand. I believe you. Relief flooded her face. Then Marcus turned to Minjay. Now, about business. Minjay studied him for a long moment. I'll review your proposal. 3 days. Then his voice dropped. But if you ever threaten my wife again, there will be consequences you won't survive. Marcus didn't smile. Understood. He left. Zara exhaled hard. That was a lot. Minjay knelt in front of her. Are you okay? He just needed to understand. And now he does. She looked at him seriously. Promise me something. Anything. Stay human. He didn't hesitate. I promise. 3 pregnancy tests, all positive. Zara held one up silently. Minjay stared. You're 6 weeks. He crossed the room and pulled her into him. We're having a baby. Then panic flickered. I need more security, safe rooms, new protocols. Minjay. He stopped. Breathe. He sat down, hands shaking slightly. I can't fail this child. You won't, she said, because you're scared of failing. That's what makes the difference. They talked names. Hana, Minho, Jamal as a middle name. Balance. Both of them in that child. Both worlds. Zara stood in a trauma bay. Scar faded but visible. Every life matters, she told her students. We don't choose who deserves care. We just save them. Her phone buzzed. Hana threatened a classmate again. Minho drew something violent again. Zara smiled. She typed back, of course they did. Minjay sat in his office on a video call with Marcus. Money first, he said calmly. Leverage second. Violence last. Marcus smirked. You've changed. I've evolved. Hana burst in. Daddy, I told Tommy you're more powerful than his daddy. He sighed. No threatening classmates. But it's true. Discretion. Minho ran in with a drawing. Stick figures. Chaos. Minjay blinked. We need new cartoons. That evening Zara came home. Blocks scattered everywhere. Children laughing. Sunset over Hyundai. Do you regret it? Minjay asked quietly. This life? She leaned into him. Not once. Hana climbed into Zara's lap. Tell us the story again. Zara smiled. Once upon a time, there was a nurse who ran from Baltimore. Minjay wrapped his arm around them. Outside, the empire still moved. Ships, money, influence, power. But inside, he was just daddy. She was just mommy. And the violence that should have broken them, built them. Some love stories start with roses, some start with bullets. Both survive. This one didn't just survive, it thrived. If you made it to the end, drop a heart and also tell me where you are watching from. Please like and subscribe for more.